Monroe County, named for President James Monroe, was established following the Treaty of St. Mary's, Ohio, and in April 1818 the county seat of Bloomington was platted. Originally wooded hills, the centrally located land on which the town was formed had already been converted over to farm fields by pioneers Robertson Graham and David Rogers. Along with the construction of a courthouse, churches, and similar establishments, the new town required a burial yard. In 1819, a site west of town was chosen by the county commissioners, called the graveyard. This site was so marked by a GY carved into a large oak tree near the entrance. The county board maintained the cemetery until 1868, when jurisdiction was passed to the city and it became known as City Cemetery. Now known as the Old Spencer Addition, the original burial area in the easternmost section of the cemetery, bordered by 4th Street, Maple Street, and 3rd Streets. The next grave that you'll be looking at is John B. Crafton, born in 1853, died in 1912. During his life, John Crafton was a very successful local businessman, referred to as the Stone King. Crafton owned many acres of limestone, rich land, and was involved in the building of the Monon rail line between Clear Creek and Harrodsburg, Indiana. All of this garnered him a sizable fortune for his day. However, Crafton is now best remembered as one of the many who died during the sinking of the Titanic, a voyage he took after seeking relief for his rheumatism in Europe. On its maiden voyage from England to New York, the ship hit an iceberg and sank. Only 705 of more than 200,000 passengers, or 2,000 passengers, survived. Very interesting. Mr. Crafton was one of the ship's guests on the night that it sank. And this is his monument, and it's a very well kept monument, and a lot of history here. So on to the next stone. What you're looking at now, this is the Civil War and World War I monument, located at Section A and Entrance Road. Beginning in 1883, the local Women's Relief Corps, a patriotic women's group, embarked on a fundraising campaign to commission the Soldiers' Monument honoring Civil War veterans. With additional city and county funds, the monument was completed and erected in 1900 in the cemetery's stone addition. Designed by John Nichols, the buff oolitic limestone was carved by Curry and Son, and the bronze pieces cast by W. H. Mullen of Salem, Ohio. It includes a Union soldier at Parade West and a bronze plaque at the battle scene and reference to the GAR and the WRC. Most notably, the GAR formally established May 30th as Decoration Day, now known as Memorial Day. The World War I monument was erected in 1923 and it was predominantly paid for by donations from families of those 34 soldiers honored. This classically designed limestone monument features the Spirit of the Doughboy statue by E.M. Viquesney. The monument was dedicated on May 30th, 1927. Beautiful sight there. Got the sunlight in it, I don't know why. You're looking at the headstone of Lefty Galloway, born 1919, died 1938. Lefty Galloway became a local legend through personal tragedy, a musician and poet. He became a star pitcher on the 1935 to 1937 American Legion junior baseball team. He was the 1937-1938 captain of the Bloomington High School's basketball team. But his baseball skills garnered the most attention. IU baseball coach Paul Pooch Harrell declared Galloway a top prospect, and professional teams reportedly also showed interest. He completed a semester at IU, then moved to Evansville for employment, with plans to return to IU once he had saved enough money for tuition. Sadly, the day he began working for a trucking company, the vehicle he was riding in was struck by a train. Galloway died of injuries a few days later. His simple limestone headstone is notable for its porcelain photograph that you see here now of Galloway in his team uniform. Very sad picture. The ball on the bottom is actually shellacked into the stone there, so it cannot be removed. So just thought this was a real interesting stone, and I figured I would let you see this here. This is one of the famous monuments here in Rosehill Cemetery. So on to the next one we go. This is the headstone of Hoagie Carmichael, born 1899, died in 1981. Despite studying law at IU, Carmichael's exposure to jazz musicians and cornet player Leon Bix Beiderbecke lit the fire that would become his life's course. His mother, who played piano in local movie houses, was his first musical inspiration. His own college band, the Carmichael Collegians, had some early success, but the band's 1927 recording of Stardust garnered little early attention. After briefly practicing law in Florida, Carmichael headed to New York City in 1929. There, his 36 recordings for the Victor Company included Georgia on My Mind, Rocking Chair, and Lazy River. In 1936, Carmichael moved to Hollywood and became a star performing on records, radio, stage, and in movies. 3 of his top 4 songs of 1946 were written by Carmichael. Together, he and famed lyricist Johnny Mercer won a 1951 Oscar for In the Cool, Cool, Cool of the Evening. Carmichael continued his television appearances during the 1950s, but much of his latter music received little attention due to changing tastes. After his family donated the Carmichael Archival Collection to Indiana University, the Hoagie Carmichael Room was opened in 1986.
I did want to point out something kind of interesting that Phil had told me about some of these stones. Back in the early day, when they would set these monuments here, you know, the things here, before they would set the actual headstone on, what they would do, some of them would either take a marker, like a gray pencil, and mark the corners. But back, he said this practice has been going on for nearly 100 years. But what they would do is they would place pennies on all 4 corners of the stone and one in the center before they would set it. And then they would caulk it all the way around to seal it. So what this did is it would prevent the top of the stone moving. You know, when it would rain, water would get under, it'd freeze, it'd unthaw, and the stone would actually slide. So the pennies would stop them from doing that. So when you go into a cemetery and these stones are pushed over, more than likely, whenever that stone was set, whether it be 1900 or whatever, these old coins would come up missing. Now, if a stone was placed in 1900, that coin's worth a lot of money. So people would steal it, just not to vandalize headstones, but to take the pennies, the coins. You know, you go up to a cemetery, knock over, 50 headstones, those coins were worth a lot of money. So that's kind of a little history thing that I learned today, and I figured I would share it with you. Thanks.